Hello everyone! Good morning! I am Rebecca from ChemKnits and I was all set to totally start completely on time, but then I heard this loudspeaker announcement outside and I got concerned. But it turns out that a lot of my neighbors still don't have power, and so the power company is just right outside my house. But I should stay, I should keep power unless they make some kind of mistake. So if things go completely dark, I'll try to hop on my phone and let you guys know if it's a technical glitch or if I've lost power. But hopefully things will go smoothly. But anyway, welcome everybody to the third stream where we are unraveling a bunch of the blanks that we dyed in last week's sock blank special. I hope to do 5 to 6 blanks. There are 11 left, and so then I'll be back sometime next week to do some more unraveling. But we'll see how much we can get through today. And, oh, interesting. Sort of what I see is cut differently from what's coming through on the stream. So I'm a little intrigued and perplexed, but it's not that big a deal. Yeah, welcome everybody. I'm glad that you guys were able to join me. So yeah, I think, oh goodness. Oh well, I got totally distracted because I was like, are they making an announcement for me, or am I just, I think I might have just been hearing the radio on the hearing the radio on the truck because they're right outside my house. But yeah, we'll see, and hopefully power will stick around. Oh yay, you're gonna unravel along with me. That is awesome. So yeah, we will get started. Aha. Well, ooh, funny, now it's like I have to balance between the backlight of my window and making sure you guys can see me. So on the back of my couch are the 11 blanks that I have not yet unraveled. These are all the blanks from the 5th live stream, the speckling and sprinkles live stream. And then we've got 2 from stamping, just 2 more from spray painting, and I think 1 more from the random patterns stream. All of the recaps are on the ChemKnits Tutorials YouTube channel now. So if you missed a stream or see one of these yarns and you want to know how I dyed it, the thumbnails for all of the recaps are on the ChemKnits Tutorials YouTube channel. Also, in the video description, you'll see a lot of handy links that contain information about, for example, the different dyes that I used, yarns that I used, and some of the other special tools like the dusting wand that I used. I think I have a link to there in the description, and things like that. So, and you know, if you want to use a product that I've recommended, using one of my links is helpful. And let's see, let's get started with, I had a sense, okay, I think I want to do this one first. This is a beautiful gradient that I dyed in the sprinkles and speckling episode. I used the OXO dusting wand. Well, first I used just some dilute, I think, purple food coloring on this is a Knit Picks strobe blank. There are links to the blank in the video description. And I sort of broke that to give it a bit of a background color. Then I used an OXO dusting wand to speckle some blue raspberry lemonade Kool-Aid onto the blank. So in addition to giving some blue specks of color along the blank, that also provided the citric acid so all of the dyes could bind. And then I added some black sugar sprinkles onto the blank that give these sort of dots that you see. And so I think that in particular, the black sprinkles would be great. This was all in a low immersion technique, and was one that I did not steam after the fact. I used hot water on my counter and did not have prolonged heat. And you can see how much beautiful color we have on our blank. And so what I'm using today are a bunch of PVC pipe nitty knotties. I don't think I added the video to making the nitty knotties into the description. But you should find in the description a link to the whole Sock Blank Special 2, so that way you can find any of the videos that you might have missed. Normally when I wind yarn around a niddy noddy, it's configured sort of like this. But this blank today, and most of the blanks, there's a couple single stranded ones, most are double stranded blanks. So instead of having a 1 foot niddy noddy, I'm using a niddy noddy with a 2 foot pole. Now if I was to twist this, then I would get an 8 foot skein. But if I have it in sort of this H configuration, I guess it's really more of an I, but an H configuration, I can wind both strands around the blank at the same time to get our 2 identical 50-gram skeins of yarn. Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for joining in. So I still have not hit any of the homemade blanks that I know will be a bit harder for me to unravel. So we'll see if I hit some of those today, but I plan to go as long as I can and as long as we know that I have power. But I sort of just will pinch the skein like I would hold it in between my hand and sort of use my 2 fingers to separate the 2 strands and then wrap around the niddy noddy. And already you can see that we get some speckling in the yarn. In some of the last unraveling streams, I had some questions about, oh, maybe I don't want to do this because I don't want yarn that feels very mottled. If you do a technique that will give you a more solid color overall, there will always be a tiny bit of variation depending on, just based on the fact that there were knit stitches when you were dyeing this. The more colors that you add onto the blank, the more sort of modeling you'll get overall. But you can end up with something a lot more solid if you use something that has really good color penetration in an area. So when I did one of the striped blanks, I ended up with some areas that were very solid because I was hand painting and then got really good color penetration all the way through. It was where you got some more of the mottled and specks where you had 2 colors in a row start to show up. Hi, can someone help me tell me how to get stuff off of Etsy? What kind of stuff, Nanette? I don't have anything on Etsy myself right now, but I guess it depends on what kind of stuff you're looking for on Etsy. My arms are doing great. I was, after the, I think it was like 4.5 to 5 hours on Tuesday, my arm was pretty sore after that. But, the next day I felt pretty good. So that's great. I also need to give a big thank you to Chris. It turns out that you can leave super chats while I am not actually live. So if I have a scheduled live stream, you can still go and leave a super chat in advance. So Chris, thank you for leaving a super chat for this yesterday. I didn't see it, and I don't see if you left a chat in the message because sometimes I'm not sure how long it leaves chats up. But I can see that you made a contribution, and I really appreciate that. And so thank you so much for supporting the ChemKnits Tutorials YouTube channel and all of the materials that I use to do these fun dyeing videos. So if you are wondering how to support me, in addition to super chats, which you can see, it's kind of almost like a tip jar. It's a little $ at the bottom of the chat window. And if you like what I do and want to help support me and the materials and supplies, then those are always appreciated. But I also appreciate you guys watching, commenting, and interacting with all my videos. That is also a huge way that you can support me. So thank you so much, everybody. And eventually I will have a de-stash sale or something on Etsy, but that is still, I got to get through all this unraveling first before I start thinking about that. But these colors are really cool. So the fun thing about doing a speckled technique on the blank is that the speckles that you get on the yarn end up being even tinier, because a lot of time you get the speck over like in between the stitches, so it goes on multiple strands of yarn. But I think that this is going to be really, really cool. And I made sure with this blank and with one of the others to sort of apply, when I was dusting the Kool-Aid on, to do it on a sort of a gradient, to have more of the Kool-Aid at one end of the chafer pan than the other, which will give this yarn an overall gradient, which I think is really, really fun. And the reason why I like doing some kind of gradient on all of these blanks versus just doing a consistent random pattern overall is that you will end up with a yarn that is impossible to achieve when just dyeing a skein. I could get black specks like this, just dyeing, the circular skein of yarn, but I would not be able to get this overall dark, more saturated to less saturated gradient. And oh yeah, Chrissy, thanks for giving a mention to the Chemnitz Lab group on Facebook. We have over 400 members now, which is awesome. And it's a group for Chemnitz fans, and there's a lot of chat about different dyeing projects and techniques, and people share things that they're making out of their hand-dyed yarns and suggestions of patterns, and it's just a really nice community. The only requirement for joining is that you have to be interested in fiber arts. So if there's not something on your profile that makes it really obvious that you like yarn and like to use yarn, or I suppose even sewing or quilting in some kind of capacity, please just respond to the questions that are at the beginning. Actually, let me grab a link to the group, and I will post a link to the group in the chat. Have you done a dip dye with a sock blank? I have. There's actually a video of that from the first sock blank special. And so I dip dyed a sock blank, I think, into blue and then into a green. And so I got this really sort of great gradient. But I don't think the unraveling of that was part of the episode. But I did unravel it after. And so the finished yarns are also out on the channel. I suppose actually I did, in this most recent one, I dip dyed, I guess it wasn't a soft blank, it was a worsted weight blank that I made. But yeah, I really, really like doing dip dyes. And so it was hard to not just dip dye all of the blanks, but I wanted to, in the sock blank special 2, try to touch on some of the techniques that people really requested after the first one and do things that I hadn't touched on the first time around. What was I going to add? Tangled Cat, thank you so much for the super chat. I really appreciate it. But yes, dip dyeing is one of my absolutely favorite techniques. I guess I also did some dip dyes this time with, I crinkled up a blank and then I dipped it. I really wanted to show some more wild patterns, that way you guys could see how the blanks unravel. I filmed recaps for all of the different dyeing live streams, so you can see the dried blanks that were filmed in each live stream. Some of them end up being pretty long for recaps, but a 20-minute recap is a little easier to get through sometimes than a 3-hour live stream, and so it can help you, as a summary, it can help you figure out which dyeing project happened in which stream, so that way you know where to go to find the yarns that you really want to see. I will do one more recap for the entire thing, and it probably won't be narrated. It'll be set to some music, I think, but I will show pictures of all of these blanks that I've unraveled before, so the finished dried blank, and maybe I'll throw in some pictures from the dyeing process. But I'll have the finished dyed blank. I will have the yarn kind of on the nitty naughty, and then the final twisted skeins. So that way you can really get a sense of the yarns that the 21 different blanks that we dyed over this Sock Blank Special 2 week. Oh, no worries. I always like to answer. Do I have anyone who helps with questions like an administrator? Nope, it's just me. Occasionally, well, after I had an issue with some trolls from one of the live streams, then I had Keith, my husband. Technically he's a moderator, but normally he does work and just sort of watches me if he's home. I don't think he even listens. I think he just watches, like has the chat open or has the live stream open in the background. But yeah, right now the Chemnitz is just me. there are many things that it would be helpful to hire some kind of intern or assistant of some kind to help with some of the logistics, so I could focus more on the creative. But I don't make enough of an income for myself yet, so I cannot afford to hire someone to help out. Maybe someday, though. Oh. But yeah, with the Chemnitz Lab group on Facebook growing so much, I don't always have as much. It's a little harder for me to get all the notifications. Um, so, because I get notifications from everything that goes on in the group on the Chemnitz profile, in addition to things that happen on the page. So, if I'm slow to respond to a question that you post in the lab or on the Chemnitz page in a comment or something, feel free to PM Chemnitz on Facebook, and those will I respond to pretty quickly, because just sometimes something gets lost in the shuffle of all of the notifications. But I do try to check comments as much as I can. But the nice thing about the lab group is that sometimes I see a question that I'm not able to respond to right away, and then a bunch of other people will have answered it before I even had a chance. So it's a great community. But I know not everyone has Facebook, so we are approaching the end of this game, but let me give you another close-up. I don't think the colors are really doing justice on the camera right now, but we've got this pastel blue and pink and purple, then with brighter specks of blue, and this, even though it was black sprinkles, it's really more of a sort of brownish, deep brownish purple that's on there. But this is a nice subtle one. And so even though this yarn is really variegated and there's a lot of color changes, because the color overall is paler, I think that you could do a more complex cable design or something with it, and it would look really nice. And you could still have stitches really pop, even with all of the different colors going on in the yarn. But, oh man, it'd be nice. I know that there exist like electric skein winders and stuff. I can't even imagine if I had like that kind of setup so I could like have two going at once and just stand here separating the yarns. That would be pretty cool someday. Thank you. I really was excited about this one. That's why I wanted to start off unraveling it. But I really like these PVC pipe niddy noddies because they are inexpensive to make. I can change the size of them really easily. And so they're really easy to store because I can take them apart. And so it's just nice and handy to have around. But normally, so if I'm only doing one blank or something, I will wet the yarn on the niddy noddy itself and let it dry on the niddy noddy. And I do this just because the reason why I wet the yarn is because otherwise you can see that the yarns are pretty crimped when they're coming off the niddy noddy. And so I wet the yarns to help these crimps relax. So that way it's a little easier for you to knit with and it's less likely to get tangled. Now, I'm doing so much unraveling now that I'm having to take some of the yarns off the skeins before I've relaxed the twist. This means that some of the yarns are still a bit wavy compared to some of my other hand-dyed yarns, but and I didn't have the things that I thought that I had that would work as a weight actually didn't work well enough, so I need to devise something in the future to help sort of weigh down the skeins to help it relax a bit more. But pre-soaking the yarn in water and sort of shaking and doing like a, like a boom, boom, like making it taut for a few seconds, that does actually help relax it a fair amount. But yeah, some weights or something could also help. Some of the yarns, like the Big O yarn that I crocheted with, that relaxed, just getting a little bit wet. The Wool of the Andes worsted weight yarns have a bit more memory, so you need to like soak them a bit longer to help the yarns relax. You dyed a blank with Kool-Aid, you rinse it with soap and hung to dry, but it's crunchy. Yes, I would try rinsing it more. I have one of the blanks today is that I dyed with all of the sprinkles. So the only blank that I have that's crunchy is this blank that I dyed with sprinkles, sprinkles, and more sprinkles. But I decided that I think I want to unravel the blank first and then soak it and wash it some more. Because I think that sometimes soaking in warmer water can help, but I haven't really had one come out that's crunchy before. I think I just didn't wash it enough because I was probably tired after the dialogue and impatient to get it hanging to dry. Yes, this would make a really pretty pair of mittens. Okay, you tried the link on Facebook. It's telling you no page found. All right, so I've been having some trouble adding links to chats with the redirects because I will add the intact URL. And then this was happening the other night. I would add the intact URL and it would not actually go to the place where it said it would go. So what I'm going to do is I am going to try to go and add that link to the, wait, why am I not seeing? Why am I not seeing the options? Oh, stream options, basic info. Okay, I am going to add a link to the video description for the Chemnitz Lab group. And that should save and be, yeah, the changes are saved, so that should be there momentarily, so that way you can find the link there. I'm not sure. I guess some other people are having these redirect issues as well. I panicked the other day because I thought that this was an issue with my website because I would put a link to something on chemnitz.com and it would show up as page not found when I was literally copying the address from the browser and putting it in the chat. But I think that YouTube is doing something to the links in the chat. I wonder if some of the other links, let's try out another link. Let me see. I'll try just one more file. Okay. Videos. I'm going to try a link to the sock blanks. And can someone check on the link that I just put in, which I know there's a delay, so you'll hear me say this later, but can someone check on the link that I just put in, which is for the Knitpick stock links? If someone could click on that and see if that works for me, because that will help me as I try to share links with y'all. But yeah, if someone could click on that and check that, that would be really helpful. You're going to re-soak and see what happens. Yeah, I would try rinsing it a bit. And so, yeah, if you soak in warmer waters, that should help things dissolve. But I haven't ever had Kool-Aid remain crunchy. Well, I don't really use Twitter very much. I do have Twitter, but if you don't have, so the easiest way to share pictures of stuff with me is tagging me on Instagram or posting it on Facebook. But some of you I know have Twitter, but not these other accounts. And so if you, tag me on Twitter, then I will log in and check. But otherwise, I don't know if I even have the app on my phone because I just don't use it very often. The Knitpicks link worked. Oh, awesome, guys. Thank you for checking that. So I don't know what it is about some of these other links. But anyway, here is our really, really pretty speckled yarn. The great thing about doing these double-stranded blanks, and I guess I didn't really talk about blanks, but I know most of you are aware. But the thing that's really awesome about using these double-stranded blanks is we end up with 2 identical 50-gram skeins of yarn. This means that if we want to do socks or mittens, you can really end up with a matched set. Whereas if you're doing a single-stranded blank, you can end up with a really cool gradient, and you can end up with matched socks or mismatched, sort of coordinated socks that are mismatched, but they won't be identical. And so it's something that is really attractive to a lot of sock knitters. But let's see how we're doing. You guys are all awesome. Oh, I hope that things are coming through okay. Sometimes, sometimes the other day with the stream, I was having some problem, but it was a less active video. So hopefully things are fine. But yeah, I really, really love this too. But I think that I'm going to send you guys to a brief commercial break while I take some pictures of this blank, just in case I need to take it off the nitty naughty at some point. And so, yeah, I hang tight and I will send you guys to a little break. I know not everyone sees these ads, but I really appreciate people sticking to them and watching them. So pretty. And then hanging out as I watch for where I need to insert the ad. Oh man. But some of these pictures from the unraveled ones I've been sharing on Instagram. I'm trying not to have these. I need these pictures for the replay, but because I think that one of the best ways to really see the gradient is to look at the pictures while it's on the nitty naughty. I really like, and I don't know, yeah, because of the stuff in the background, it's a little harder to see on there. The nitty naughties, you know, because of the way I wind it and push it to the outside, you get a real sense of the overall gradient, which the blue at the very end, this end, whoops, this end, that blue is really, really pale, but it is more blue and pink than I think is showing up on camera. But it is very, very pretty. All right, which one should I do next? Oh, that's what I forgot. I should have said which one you guys want me to do next before I got started. But let's do, all right, I think I'm going to unravel a single-stranded one. Let's do this more wild DNA one. And then I'd love to hear what you guys would like to see after that. But this one should be fast because it's a single-stranded one. And this one I did in the stamping and stenciling episode where I used guar gum. And I used, what was the proportion? 1/4 of a teaspoon and 8 ounces of water. And it worked really, really well. You know, I think that I would increase that to a 1/2 teaspoon in 8 ounces of water for using on 100% wool like here, because the lines, where are my birds behind me? The lines were a lot sharper on the superwash blends because I found that superwash yarns absorb the food coloring a lot faster. So using the guar gum as a thickener, we were able to get much cleaner lines than we were on, oh, let me move this so you can see it a bit, on this Wool of the Andes blank. You guys want to see the birds? Ah, yeah, you don't want to click the links, right. If you click the, I guess if you try to click and open in a new window, or maybe you can try to click on the links after the stream, but a lot of the links are there. Oh, and I need to use, so with some of the homemade blanks, it's a little harder to unravel. And by harder to unravel, I just mean like it needs a little more resistance. You could use your foot or something, but I have a weighted clip that helps me unravel it. But this one, oh, and I'm in my favorite little broken black DNA section first. You can see we get some really cool modeling in the yarn. But this yarn will be sort of a wild gradient because I used a bunch of colors and a lot of techniques all the way through. So some people might wonder why you might want to bother doing some stamping and stenciling on a blank because you won't see the patterns in the end. But it's something that is it's sort of like with all these things, it's really dependent on what you might want to see and what you might want to use the yarn for. So, you know, it's certainly something that for some people might not be worth the effort, but especially if you're going to give someone an intact blank, it could be a lot of fun. Hi, Lush. Yes, I've only unraveled one blank so far. It was one of the speckled blanks and is over there right now. Don't worry, I will do a recap video with all of the blanks that I've unraveled, so that way you guys can see hopefully better pictures of the colors. But this one's just going to be such a fun gradient because as we go through the blank with all these different wild colors and stuff, it will be just really nice and fun. Yes, the birds, I think the birds blank would have been gorgeous even without the stenciling. So I'm really excited to see how that one turns out. And so we will unravel the birds next. But I'm having so much fun hanging out with you guys. Thank you so much for joining me in all of these live streams. Your support really means so much to me. And in fact, it sometimes actually saves me a bit too. When yesterday, since we had a snowstorm, I decided to snow dye some yarn. And in the middle of everything, I remembered what I had wanted to do. So I was running around, sort of changing things midstream. But because I was starting out to do one experiment and then swapped sort of in the middle, I came on to, I was going to post in the Chemnitz lab to sort of lament that, okay, this is what I'm doing. I should have pre-soaked the yarn in vinegar so the dyes would bind faster. And then I realized, aha, I have some citric acid. I can sprinkle the powdered citric acid on top, which will be like using Kool-Aid, but not having any of the color. And I know that that's sufficient to help the colors bind. So that's what I did, and it worked. So that is something that was only possible because I was sharing this with you guys in the group. And so I wouldn't have ever thought to do that otherwise. And so that is something that, just one way that sharing things with you has inspired me to fix something midstream. This yarn is really cool. I mean, I really was just using this as sort of, a literal blank just to mess around with some colors. But the yarn is really, really fun. You waiting for the food dyes to come? The ones that I had? Ooh, awesome. The first thing you thought of yesterday after getting your promotion was, yay, now you get to buy even more yarn. Oh, that's awesome. Congratulations on the promotion, by the way. Yeah, Knit Picks is having a green yarn sale right now. And I am so tempted by everything mint that is in there. Because, it's a paler color, but one that would over dye beautifully. You could over dye it to an orange or something as well. But I think that it would just be a ton of fun to play with as I tangle around myself. But we're just getting this really cool sort of speckly gradient. You're buying even more yarn? Woohoo, woohoo! Well, if you're going to go to Knit Picks, there's a link in the description to all their bare yarns as well. And it's a shame that I don't get commission off of my own purchases. But that wouldn't entirely be fair, I suppose. That would be like me getting a discount. But I can't test when I post. So when you guys tested the Knit Picks link for me, I can't test those myself because then I would have the tracking on myself, and then I would have to go through and contact them when I make a purchase because I would unfairly get credit for referring myself, which would be odd. Yeah, this is really, really cool. And what was that? Oh, just a little nub of extra fiber. Yeah, so the single-stranded ones unravel super quickly because we are almost done. And was this one of the ones? No, maybe I did one of the other day that had, you can have this. I made this blank on my Singer knitting machine. So this was a blank that was in the round. I made it with the Wool of the Andes worsted weight wool. And the thing with these single-stranded blanks is that sometimes if I'm not paying attention, you get dropped stitches, you get some snags, and ultimately, if you're going to unravel it, it doesn't matter. So some of these knitting machines have really poor reviews because people want to use them to make something knit. Well, obviously they want to make something knit, but they might want to make something to keep. And, so I was using the recommended worsted weight yarn, and this is not enough to make I mean, maybe you could make a preemie hat out of this in the yarn, but it's just not wide enough to make too many things. And even someone asked about using it for socks. I mean, yes, in one of the streams, I did put my foot inside one of the blanks and it fit, but the gauge is just not right for socks. So I personally like these knitting machines as tools for making blanks. But as one of you suggested, it might be worth me using them in the future to, and no promises, but maybe sometimes I'll be able to do a quick swatch of one of the yarns I've dyed. That's one of the most popular requests that I get, and it's something that I don't usually honor. I like to try to fulfill all the requests that I get for content. But the reason why I don't really do swatches is that in some of the skeins it would mean cutting the ties, or it would require me to unravel, like wind things into a center pull ball. And not to mention that depending on your gauge and the number of stitches, and if you're knitting in the round or back and forth, these really wild variegated patterns can result in many, many, many different project types. But I do have a link set up for Kickstarter backers to share their pictures with me of what they've made from their projects. And so I'm sort of collecting all of those so that way I can do another slideshow of finished projects with the dyed yarns and sort of comment, narrating it about how I dyed the yarn. But here is this really, really cool gradient. I think that on camera it looks like, there's a fair amount of white, but the colors are really, really bright. And I don't think that shows up when I'm seeing on camera. It looks like more white than there really is. Maybe because there's a lot of pale blues from the colors breaking, but it is really, really pretty. Oh goodness. You're buying more yarn, awesome. You're getting haircuts. Oh, you're going to be behind yarn for a Doctor Who scarf? Oh, a Doctor Who scarf Afghan. That is cool. That's not something I've really heard of before. And so again, I'm photographing for the recaps, but I will do the birds next. Have you considered the manual sock loom from Michaels? I've never used a manual loom before. I've only ever used this one. You keep getting in the picture. I've only used the hand crank sort of. Oh my goodness, I am distracted from talking and trying to show this all at once and not get the stool picture. There we go. That's a bit better. All right. Now that it's documented, I have not tried a manual loom before. I don't know how fast I would be able to be on one of those. All the knitting machines I've used have been hand crank. But if you're really comfortable on a knitting loom, then that's something that's totally worth doing. Yeah, that would be really interesting. I feel like I want to adjust. Hang with me. I am going to increase the brightness. And that didn't really help a ton. Oh well. Yeah, problem is that we're backlit here, and so that causes some changes. Little shout out to my Wellesley reunion mug. Let me see. Okay, so this, you guys overwhelmingly, I think, requested to see the birds. So this is a blank that I dyed in the Stamping and Stempling episode as well. And I use this bird stencil with some teal with guar gum and then Wilton's black with the guar gum. Now, in general, like if you look at this blackbird, the color is way more of a deep sort of purpley brown, and I don't think on there the breaking is really showing up. There's very little breaking, only the slightest blue halo around the outside. Let's see if you can see. Yeah, it's not really showing up very well on the camera on the wrong side either. You see a tiny bit more breaking on the back. I sort of, as I was doing this, discovered that less is more. You want less liquid in your sponge to get a better defined bird. Um, and so, but I think in general, this was really, really pretty. But before I did the stamping, I did sort of randomly dip dye this into a little bit, maybe 4 drops of the black from the Wilton Colorite system, which I think might still be on sale. I am just checking because the Colorite Color Performance System, all right, it looks like the $2 coupon isn't there anymore, but let's see if I can get a link into the chat. I don't know if this one will work, but it's still on sale. It's just not with the $2 off coupon. So you can probably get a better price, and that is the Wilton. You can probably get a better price on a better price if you have a coupon and you go to a local store. But the $17, I think, and 41 cents is a pretty good deal for all the colors you get from the Colorite system. But I wanted, so in the last one that I unwound, all the negative space on the blank was white. And I wanted to have something non-white for the negative space. But what's cool is because there was so little, oops, maybe I need to start from this end. Yeah, what's cool is because there was so little food coloring when I did the initial dip dyeing that we're gonna have a lot of modeling in the yarn right away. So there's lots of very, very subtle color variation in this blank that is just going to give it a lot of interest without even the brighter patches that we'll get from the birds. Wait, which one would, oh, this one, yes, this would be a really pretty silk scarf. I haven't tried, I've dyed some silk scarves with food coloring. And actually, I just finished editing and uploading 2 of those videos on the channel. Those should be coming out next week. I think that you would probably need a lot more guar gum with silk. But I don't know. The silk absorbs the color really, really slowly. So maybe I'll try using this bird stencil on one of the silk scarves that I have in my stash. Because I got, when I did my order from Dharma Trading Company to get some acid dyes, I picked up some small 100% silk scarves to play around with before using a more expensive 100% silk yarn. I thought that was prudent. Oh, this is everyone's favorite. I think a lot of people really like this blank. I don't know. I'm partial to the DNA myself. Like maybe after this I'll have to do the spray painted blank with the DNA down on the end. But yeah, I need to actually, there have been a lot of, like, someone asked about administrative stuff. There have been a lot of administrative things that I've been putting off, such as, setting up my Etsy store and getting some, federal tax numbers so that way I can sign up for some wholesale discounts from certain suppliers. There's, what was it? Oh, but I have a new logo idea, and I just need to get an artist. Ooh, and so we're starting on the first bird. Let's see. So again, the nice thing with the double-stranded blank is that you can see, maybe you can see against my hand there, that the way that these darker sort of speckles unravel will be identical. And so therefore, if you're gonna do something with even just one stenciled shape on there, once it's unraveled, it'll end up in these splotches of color that will be consistent on the 2 skeins of yarn. So that's really, really fun. I mean, this one, the colors and stuff are so wild that without something to sort of tie it together, if I was going to make 2 mittens out of this yarn, they would have different colors in them and might not feel like part of the set. But if I was doing stripes, and even if I was going in sort of a random order, as long as some of the colors were all present in different sections of the yarn, then it would still feel somewhat coordinated. But this one might actually, I guess there's darker in one region. Good morning. Oh, I'm sorry that the notifications weren't working. There's a little, when you subscribe to the channel, there's a little, I think, alarm bell, so you can toggle notifications and change in your settings. But I don't know. I think that I have no idea who. I mean, I have 19,000 subscribers, and so I don't think every single one gets a text message or like a push notification when I start a new stream. So I'm not entirely sure how that works. But the way this yarn is coming out is the background is, oh good, you can see the modeling, even if the tone isn't right. But we've got these brighter teal sections in with the mottled colors from the first bird, which is about gone. I think if you're picking at stencils, what I've found is, and I haven't tried higher concentrations of guar gum, but if you're stenciling on a silk scarf, you might be able to get things with more precision because the fabric, the weave of the fabric is way tighter than say a sock blank. But on the blanks, I found that things with larger, like the small details on the stencils didn't necessarily come through. So, does anyone else have Bye Bye Birdie running through their head? I didn't until I saw the comment. Oh, funny. Oh, goodness. Yeah, this is really, really pretty. I definitely think I will play with the stenciling some more, which just means I need to pick out some more stencils or commission some on Etsy or something. But I have, as I said, I have this logo idea. I just need to find someone to do it. And so then I will probably order like real yarn labels. Well, actually, I would do business cards that I would use as yarn labels, but or have something to include with packages when I ship things out. Oh, wow. Well, why don't you, Allie, why don't you send me a message to Chemnitz on Facebook and we can chat. Thank you. Oh, cool. You got an alert on a different browser. That's nice. Yeah, I think that sometimes when I set up a stream in advance, the alert goes out when I make the stream, the event public. I'm a little unsure, but ooh, we're getting, oh, this is cool. So you know how I said that there's only a tiny bit of breaking around the black? I don't know if you guys will be able to see this, but sort of like when I do some of the other, like some of this speckling, you see a tiny bit of the blues around the stitches. So it's sort of like the blue stitch is ringed, or the black, the dark purple is ringed in a bit of blue, which is really, really pretty. Thank you. Do I sell silk? No. I don't really sell anything right now. The silk scarves that I've dyed for some of the, I've got, I think 3 that I've dyed that are going to come up in some videos, in some bonus videos. Those, when I do my destash sale, I'll probably put those in the shop. But yeah, I don't really sell anything right now. I'm still working out the next steps for my business. It's felt like a bit of a whirlwind since the Kickstarter last fall. And what's amazing about this is I thought I was doing a Kickstarter to convince myself to do weekly videos. And I'm releasing, I had no idea I would do all these live streams and that this is where it would take me. I had no idea that, the level of engagement that I would have with all of you from that. And so I am so grateful for everyone's support because it's really inspired me to, I guess, really lean in to my YouTube channel. And I think that, I think we're all benefiting from that. eBay is great for silk. So I have no idea. I have one video where the live chat replay was saved, but I didn't even see that as an option on today's to like turn on. So I have no idea if the chat will be saved after the fact. Um, I've bought silk hankies for spinning off of Etsy, but the other place where I buy the silk scarves that I've dyed are from Dharma Trading Company, which is where I buy a lot of my acid dyes, and they sell their own brand of acid dyes that I know are very popular with indie dyers. So yeah, that's where I get that. But this is just so cool looking. I'm really, really excited to have a the non-white negative space. Plus, it made me feel better about not having stencils covering the whole thing. It meant me feel like I could leave more space unstenciled. Ah, so I have to read this one out loud. It's because of my infectiously awesome personality. Thank you. Well, you guys make it fun for me to do this. But yes, I guess if you're enjoying my infectiously awesome personality and you guys want to help support me and the channel and buy more supplies and everything, feel free to drop a super chat. There's a little $ at the bottom of the chat screen, and that is, it's kind of like a tip jar. I know many of you have contributed this week and last week, so don't feel, obligated to do again. I just sort of like the PBS the PBS drives that I don't know if they still do those. I just feel the need to remind everyone that that's an option, because it really does help. Especially since I'm planning to place a really big yarn order as soon as Knit Picks gets a bunch of the Bare yarns back in stock. I'm gearing up. So I've got two other ways that people will be able to support me coming up in the pipeline, eventually when I'm able to get them set up. One is after I have filmed and edited and maybe not released, but I'm planning to set up a Patreon account. I was sort of delaying it a bit because I wanted to make sure I've done all of the episodes that were funded through the Kickstarter. But I've been hoping that YouTube would roll out sponsorship through YouTube to non-gamers, which they haven't. It's just in beta testing still. So I'm a little disappointed about that. But I think that in the next month or so, I might set up a Patreon account, which is a way to sort of, you can set up a monthly contribution with some different kinds of rewards to support everything that is going on the channel. And then the other thing that I'm in the middle of figuring out how to do is to set up a D-stash sale. Because once again, the amount of hand-dyed yarns that I'm accumulating is starting to go up and up and up. So it's almost time to set something up so that way, if you guys are interested in acquiring some of my yarns, you might be able to. But I think that for the D-stash, one of the things I'd like to offer is like dyed to order dip dyed skeins. But I need more yarn because I'm running out. Let's see. Have you thought about dyeing blanks or yarn in pride flag colors? Well, I've definitely done rainbows. I do have some pride designs. I did some rainbow. For the trans pride flag, I did it's the pink, blue, and white, and I have a rainbow one that I did on, I guess I came out with those last year for Pride Month. And I made them out of cotton, so that way if it was really, really hot, then they would still be comfortable to wear. But I guess, so I do a lot of rainbow things. I guess I haven't specifically called it like an LGBTQ pride blank, but I am always happy for that association whenever I do a rainbow. I make your day with all the videos. I'm so glad that, when I inspire you guys to dye along, that is something that really, really makes me happy, because I guess, there's nothing better to be than being a teacher and then having like people actually be able to replicate some of the things that I'm doing. And so here's another peek. So the background gradient, I think, is a little more subtle, but we've got maybe not quite stripes, but there are sections of the darker and lighter colors. But since there's this consistent background modeling throughout because there was so little dye. I think that when you're dip dyeing blanks, the less food coloring you have in the pot, so therefore the faster that it strikes the yarn, the more modeled your blank will end up looking. Yeah, so in this one, the one that I did first, there was very low food coloring, but I added the blank to the dye bath with no acid at the beginning. So even though things struck quickly, the modeling and the speckles that you see are more from the colors I added on after that struck fast versus some of the stuff that I did at the beginning. And if the modeling is more settled. But here, there was, when I was doing the background, there was acid in the pot. And so things just struck really, really fast. Uh-oh. Oh no, you have a box of naked sock yarn stuck in limbo at a post office? Oh, that's hard. Yeah, I think I've got some caffeine order that's on delay, but we just did have we had a big snow day, which actually for me wasn't so bad. I think we only got maybe 6 inches, if that, but the snow was really, really heavy. So there were down branches everywhere, which was more of the issue. And west of here, we got rain for most of the day the other day, when all the snow was hitting the East Coast. And so I think that contributed, like if it had been a couple degrees colder and all that had been snow, then it would have been, very difficult. But yeah, since I order online a lot. I do try to I like to support small local yarn stores when I can, but a lot of the times they don't necessarily carry a lot of bare yarns, but I do want to try out some of the other, I have a whole post on Chemnitz about like where to buy bare yarns. And so there's some other places that I want to explore, like with Knit Crate's Dyer Supplier. They have a really cool like twist yarn that I think would be really fun to over dye. And I mean, that's one that if I were to like share that's not one that I would get. I'm an influencer with Knit Crate, so I get credit if people sign up for the Knit Crates, but I wouldn't get credit from any of their bare yarns or commissions from any of their bare yarns. But it would just be fun sometimes it's just fun to try. So I choose like my yarn bases not based on, and my supplies not based on like, can I get like a commission on it if I refer a sale on it, but really based on the products that I enjoy and products that interest me. And I need to contact the person with the soy and milk protein yarns back. I've let a lot of my administrative stuff go, and I always remember things when I'm not near my list. You said it once that you collect indies fur to spin someday. No, so I haven't. I guess I have technically dyed some dog fur. There's a video where I dyed a bunch of single breed yarns that was part of, I was collaborating with someone else's Kickstarter campaign, where they were spinning a bunch of single breed yarns. And I had some non-indie dog fur that a really nice person on Ravelry, when I was starting to spin, gave me a bunch of different fibers so I could play around with it. And so I think I used a tiny bit of that and dyed it with some food coloring. What I did not do, I have not tried dyeing any of Indy's fur yet, but I think that I don't know yet what I would want to make out of it. His fur, he's very, very fluffy, but the staple length of his fur is really short. So it would be pretty hard, I think, for me to spin it. I would need to blend it with something. So anyway, I'm not really planning on dyeing it. I think that I would want to try to I'd love to try to just kind of keep it as is. There are companies actually that you can send pet fur and they will spin it for you, which I think is kind of cool. Um, yeah, I mean, maybe I would keep Indy's fur exactly. If I'm adding other fiber, maybe I would dye the other fiber and leave Indy's natural so that way the like white fluff comes through. Um, oh, it's a bummer to have a history with having a history with the post office branch isn't always a good thing. But here is the yarn, and I'm bummed that I don't feel like the colors are coming through is really true. But it's sort of this deep purple, a grayish blue as the backgrounds, and then this dark, dark purple with blue specks from the black birds. And then the teal actually has a tiny bit of a blue speck on the edge as well. So it's just very, very pretty. And now I need to take some pictures of this yarn. And now is another good time for me to add another commercial break as I am messing around with this. So thank you all for, for sticking around through these breaks. But this is a way that I help support the channel. And then I can take pictures of the yarn. But I need to sort of set things up with the second camera so that way I can tell when I'm synced with the other stream. So then I know when to push the button. All right. This is really, really pretty. These pictures will be for the recap that will, happen, I guess, once I've finished unraveling everything. And then I also just like to get some cool pictures to share on Instagram and stuff. But I always take more pictures than I need. So that way there's always something that will work. And of course, when I have this set up like this, I don't see the chat. Yeah, it's so pretty. So pretty. I don't know if, because of the backdrop, the colors come out kind of weird on here as well. You can at least get a sense of how dark some of the specks from the stenciling are on here. Okay. I should have. Okay, what do I want to unravel next? Let me hide that video. Oh goodness, any requests? I think I might want to do one of the other single-stranded at some point. So I'm gonna, while you guys think about and maybe give some ideas of what I should unravel next, I will add, I'm bad about adding more ties, but I'm gonna add some more ties to this so that way I can take it off the Niddy Noddy without risking getting like a yarn mess. The paintbrush specs. Ooh. Yeah, I could do paintbrush specs is a really good idea. I think that so I want to do both of them together, and I think that this Wool of the Andes one might be a little more of a pain to unravel. And the reason why I have that suspicion is that I think that I made that one from a center pull ball versus starting with 250-gram skeins of yarn. And so that means that it might be twisted together. But thankfully, it's worsted weight versus one of the fingering weight yarns where I did that. And so, but yeah, you can see how crimped this turns out. And where is the other end? The end is pretty straight. Oh dear. Where is it? I totally lost the other end of the yarn. No, I see it. Okay. Nope. Okay, here it is. So I can add another tie But yeah, I will set this aside, and then later, once I'm off the stream, I will pre-soak it to help this sort of major ramen noodle crimp relax. And actually, I can show you. Okay, so here's one of the similar skeins that we did in last week's stream. And I can show you how, it's dry now. There is still some wave to the yarn, but overall it is way more relaxed, so a lot easier to deal with. Polka dots. Oh, wait, okay, I need to look. This is what happens when I talk and I'm not paying close attention to the chat. Paintbrush specks. Ooh. Yeah, okay. I will do, actually, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I am going to do, so I want to do these two. I think I'm going to quickly, since I got the single-stranded one ready to go, I'm going to quickly unravel this one. And that's because this is a single-stranded blank. It's also a wool of the Andes worsted weight yarn, and it should go really quickly. And this one I did in the spray painting episode. So on one side, I did sort of this blue gradient using the really industrial squirt bottle, and I did more squirts at one end than the other. And then on the other side, I did a bunch of different colors. So that way, since it's sort of, this is one where you could definitely get some color pooling, but I wanted something on the wrong side that wasn't just white, but that would give it some, I guess, something. Cool. Yeah, and I'm expecting, even though this is 100% wool, we will still get some cool splotches as we unravel it. But yeah, I'll do this, and then I'll do this speckled blank, and then I'll do the last speckled blank that I'm expecting to give me a bit of trouble, because then I will have hit, then there'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, then there'll be 5 left. And I will hit my goal. Oh goodness, I have a really bad autocorrect myself. So unlike the other wool blank that I have already unraveled today, this one I made on my loops and threads knitting machine in the round. And I like that the loops and threads machine gives has more stitches. So therefore I can make the wider blank, which gives you more surface area to work with. The blank also isn't quite as long, so then it is a little less unwieldy. But we're getting, so this yarn will be totally variegated throughout, not just because of color breaking, but because where we're unraveling right now, one half is this dark blue and the other half is sort of a lime green. And so that's pretty fun. Testing around your auto spelling, but yeah, so we've got, and the other thing is that if you're doing spray painting, and if you say you were using the color mist sprays, you could get, when you get a really, really light coverage, you could get something pretty stark with fairly regular repeats. And so this is, if you make the blank with consistent tension, could be something that you could get some really cool pooling with after the fact. So something else to keep in mind. But overall, I think that this will end up being a really, really pretty gradient. But one that also could be really cool. Ow. I just poked myself. It would also be a really fun one to do non-matching mittens or something small, like fingerless mitts. Because with the blue going throughout, although I guess the blue does vary, but you could get something that still feels like a set that belongs together. Yeah, no, sometimes, oh gosh, there was the other day in the Kim Knits Lab group on Facebook, I was sending something and I was talking about like a horse mane and tail, and I spelled both of them wrong. and I hit enter too soon, so then I had to go and edit because I was like, I mean, I am not a good speller anyway, but it was particularly bad. I really want to, let me see if I can adjust the exposure. Oh, that's a lot nicer. That's a lot better. I don't mind that the background gets more blown out. Oh, that's why the other day I had the camera so high, because I had the camera way up high so that way I would have less of the window behind me in the background, which is definitely affecting the way that everything comes through. Okay, so now we've gone from the lime green and we're doing this more of a teal. Eek. Of course I said I would be able to do this one quickly, but I'm being goofy. Oh man, and I have to pay attention that I'm going where I think I'm going. But yeah, so I think if this all continues to go according to plan, I mean, maybe if that one's not a, well, I don't want to make too many promises for how long this live stream will keep going. But I do hope to finish the one that I'm working on and then do 2 more, and then we'll see after that. Otherwise, I will be on again sometime next week, so that way we can do, and now we're going into sort of a darker blue, and we'll have a lighter blue on the other side. I will be on again next week to finish up the rest of these blanks. That's why I wanted to push and get as many done as I could right now. Oh man. Yeah, we're over halfway done with this one. Single-stranded is pretty easy because I can go a bit faster. And I think this might be one of the last of my single-stranded blanks. Oh, but let me show, while I take a break to have some water. Yeah, I wish that the colors, again, it looks like there's a lot more white than there is. There is some white in here, but ultimately, because if you look at the inside, there is color that did penetrate, excuse me, to the wrong side. I can't tell you how many times I've accidentally on Instagram inserted a frown instead of a smile and then had to like go and delete and redo the comment because yeah, I think, okay, it's getting, the blank is getting light, so now I'm going to add on my weighted clip so that way to help me unravel. In general, this one has been unraveling really nicely. You don't want my arm to get too sore, so it'll take what you can get. Oh, it's fine. This weekend, we have some spring cleaning that we want to do. I was going to have a really big clean the house, get things put away, you know, take some things we're getting rid of to the donation spot and things. But then the kids got sick. And I was like, well, I can't get any cleaning done. And so then, like, you know, they had to be home from school, and then I had help. I think I had 2 days of help scheduled with some of the grandmothers, and those got canceled because, you know, grandmas didn't want to get sick. So, yeah, this is really, really pretty. Yeah, I'm not much of a text chatter. Oh, this is pretty. So now we're getting some of this purple, and we'll go into the more pink section in a minute. But this is really, really pretty. And I'm loving the like mixture of tones that we're getting from this blank. So pretty. Yeah, I think I'll tie off maybe the, oops, the birds in just a second. Actually, I'm feeling fine. I'll do the, go straight into the next blank. Woohoo! So what we've done, hey you guys, my timing's pretty good today. I've been on for an hour and 14 minutes, and this is my fourth blank that I've unraveled. So that's pretty good. And that's with me taking breaks and chatting and reading. So yeah, I mean, there's a reason why you guys don't ever see my entire kitchen. We enter the house through the kitchen, so it ends up being the dumping ground for a lot of stuff. But this is so pretty. This is a very Rebecca gradient with these colors. When you're using sort of the spray painting techniques, you end up with overall more not quite pastel, but more medium tones versus really saturated tones. But the specks that you get are much darker than the rest of the yarn. And now I need to take off my clip. Sometimes at the end it's easier to just unravel the rest before winding it onto the niddy noddy. But you can see how crimped the yarn is. And so that's why I will soak all of these yarns after and then hang them up to dry. So even once I finish the last unraveling, it would still be days before I could finish and do the recap, because it just takes some time to dry. But anyway, here is this really cool gradient that we made with all of the different kinds of spray cans that I had. Yeah, it's a lot faster for me to do this kind of niddy noddy. I'm a lot slower when I'm doing two at a time. And now I just need to take some pictures so that way I have them for the recap. Finding good sections to get some good views of the gradient. That's pretty. That's fun. Too bad that's not very square. I like if that's fun. I really like photography. That's another one of my hobbies. Cool. All right, I feel like that's probably good. I won't use all of the pictures in the recap, but it is a just sort of a nice, it's nice to have them. You're in love with the speckled gradient? Yeah, they're some of my favorites, like the rainbow speckle gradient, which since we were my hip. Since we were talking about rainbows earlier, I feel a need to bring these back out. But here are the spray painted rainbow yarns. They're just so pretty. And back into the bin. Everything will get labeled at some point. Thankfully, everything is sufficiently different so that I can, everything is sufficiently different so that way I can keep track. Okay. Sometimes it's a little hard to know. Okay, that's not the end. To know the end to start unraveling the blank from. But even though these blanks, goodness, guys, unravel together. Even though these blanks do unravel really easily, sometimes they just cure it. But yeah, so this is the cornflower blue, some of the cool specs. And I did, so yes, the ends of these blanks are, the ends of the blanks are not really tied off in any kind of way, but normally they stay intact very well. It's only occasionally when I have an issue that I accidentally pull some out. Even with all the dyeing and the washing and the drying. But this yarn will be really cool and subtle, pretty subtle specks. I could have increased like the number of speckles, I guess, in any given section. But I'm very excited to see how this yarn turns out. And I think of all the techniques, this one might have a tiny bit more variability between the exact placement of specks between the two yarns. But at the very least, because sometimes if one strand of yarn is more on top in a given stitch, then that one might get more dye. But overall, they will be really a really nice match set. So the way I did this sort of polka dotted yarn was I took a paintbrush and I took pretty much straight Wilton icing colors. I used cornflower blue, royal blue, violet, and burgundy. And I took the dyes and I literally just took the paintbrush and did these dashes, these little dashes of color on the blank. And I did that on this. This is one of the stroll blanks, and there's a link to it in the video description. And I also did it on a homemade double-stranded Wool of the Andes worsted weight blank. And in this one, you can see that the colors spread out a lot more, which I always love when that happens. But what we're getting, even though the dashes are big, we're getting these teeny, teeny specks. And I chose colors that break. So these specks all have blue and purple, or right now it's sort of teal and purple in it. And so I made, when I was transitioning the colors, I sort of have some areas where the colors will overlap a bit. So it should be gradual and just a really nice speckled yarn. Yeah, this blank is probably one of my favorites. You're going to have to make, if you're going to get into this, you're going to need to make a nitty naughty. Yeah, I spell it with D's, but I am not sure what's correct. Is there any plans for a DIY Swift? No, not really. I have a Swift. And so there are, like on Pinterest and stuff, you can find some PVC pipe Swifts that people have created, but I don't really have a need for one since I already have one. And I've never needed more than one either. This is so pretty. There's some areas where just because of the way the dashes were on the yarn, you've got some longer sections of color, but most of the specks are teeny, 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 which is awesome. You could do this sort of technique, and I plan to do this exact technique on just a skein of yarn. But you wouldn't be able to get this long of a gradient with it. You could do like a shorter sections, like you could do the 4 colors in sort of a quadrants, but which is something I exactly plan to do at some point. Yeah, with using, oh yeah, if you were to use, yeah, I love coordinated heels, cuffs, and toes. I think that would be really fun. Yeah, angled brushes. There's so many ways to vary this. The first time I did this technique, I used on just yarn, I used a fork. And the reason why I started using the brush was in the stamping and stenciling video, I used the paintbrush to sort of paint some straight Wilton colors, icing colors onto the back of a cookie cutter to use that as a stamp. And then I was like, oh, let's just try painting this directly onto the fabric. And by using the paintbrush, the amount of dye, you were transferring very little liquid, but also very little food coloring. So when I steamed it, it didn't spread out too much. But it gave nice control, and then wouldn't damage the yarn like a fork or something might. And we're starting to get some of our royal blue. Yeah, I think of all the gradients, this is one that is the most subtle probably, but also the one that I was one of the most excited for. Keith should do some DIY videos on tools and equipment for crafts. Well, hey, these nitty naughties I did all by myself. With the very first ones, he cut and sanded pieces for me, but I now have a cutter tool that I got at Home Depot, which that actually is hard on the hand because you do a lot of twisting, but we don't have a hacksaw or something, so it works for doing small amounts. But yeah, these PVC pipe I mean, I think it's under $6 for each one that I make. And you could buy some of the pieces in bulk that you would need. Oh. What's amazing about the royal blue, and it really does show up in some of these specs, is that there is purple in it. It does have some red number 3. And so when you're trying to dip dye in the royal blue, there's so much more blue that you can lose the tiny bit of red. It's so, like, there's so little red in there, but it is there. But in some of these specs, you can really see. I would hold it up, but I don't think it would show up well on camera. You can really see the blue. Oh, this would make a really nice baby sweater. Um, yeah, this might, oh, I don't know what I'm gonna, some of these yarns I might have to keep, but I have, my knitting queue is really long, and I've got an over 1-year-old baby who's still waiting for her blanket that her siblings and other good friends have all gotten. The problem of being the last in a year, like with a lot of my good friends, the babies sort of came in waves. Um, so all of with there's 2 other couples that we're really close to, and all of us, our eldest are all within 11 months, and the youngest are all within 9 or 10 months of each other. So it's a really nice little range. Yes, this one I did not use guar gum with. I just used the straight Wilton's icing color, which is already pretty thick. I actually did thin it a bit with some water, because I would rinse my paintbrush in between. Like, I used a fork to take um, some of the dye out of the Wilton's container, so I wasn't dipping back and forth into it. And then I made like a little palette on a plate, and I did thin it a bit with some water just because it was so thick. And I wanted to be able to apply just tiny amounts at a time. But can you guys see the focus on the thing, you camera? There we go. You can kind of see the color transition. Yeah, this is really, really cool. Yeah, specs are all the rage. Now, compared to a lot of other techniques that I've done where you can do speckling, this one and the hand painting stripes were probably 2 of the most labor intensive, as in it took me a while to do. Now, this is something that can be totally worth it. It's totally worth it to do for yourself because you can end up with a gorgeous yarn that you love. But, and this is one of the reasons why my focus is on teaching versus selling yarn, it would be hard for me to mass produce this in a way that would make the labor cost effective. And not to mention that the stroll blanks start off a bit more expensive than a homemade one. So if you're doing it yourself, you can make your own blank, and aha, we're transitioning into the violet. If you're doing this yourself, you can make your own blanks at home and then, design the yarns that you want for a particular project. And it's just really, really fun. Now, some of these more labor intensive yarns that I have dyed will end up in a destash sale, but that's because I need to make room for more hand-dyed yarn and fundraise for the materials as well. Which I guess, since I'm talking about fundraising, it's another time to say, if you enjoy these streams and want to contribute to help me buy more supplies and stuff, an easy way to do that is with Super Chat. There's a little $ under, right underneath where you enter in your chats. And it's just a way to, I guess it's kind of like a tip jar. But again, many of you have supported me in the last week and a half, and I really, really appreciate your support. So if you've already contributed, don't feel obligated to do so again. It just really does help, because when I do something like this sock blank special where I dyed 21 skeins of yarn, I will unlikely make from ad revenue like what the supplies cost. but it's totally worth it in terms of engagement and everything with you guys. So, but every little bit helps. Tuning in just now. Yay! Yeah, this is the super speckled blank. And I think, what is this, the fifth one? Yeah, this is the fifth one we've done today. But again, all of these blanks that we're unraveling will be featured in a recap video. So that way, if you missed the unraveling of one and want to see what one of the blanks looks like in yarn form, I'll make a slideshow, probably set to music, so that way you can check it out. And I'll probably order it based on the live stream. I'll sort it that way, so that way it'll make it a bit easier for you to go back and see the dyeing or the recap where I talk about how it was dyed. That just those recaps that just have the dry blanks in them. You're gonna go buy some of the chroma fingering and do this? Oh, yay! Awesome! Yeah, so I unboxed some yarns the other day because Knit Picks is having, in addition to, I mentioned that they're having all their green yarns are up to 40% off, but they're also discontinuing some yarn lines because they have to make space for some new ones that are coming in. And I'm expecting, given that a lot of yarns are on back order with an expected date of March 12th, I'm expecting that, you know, we might see the launch of some new lines pretty soon, which I am really excited about. But so some of these lines that they've discontinued, therefore, are 30% off in the clearance section. If you click on one of the links that I have in the video description, and you go up at the top to sale, and then you can click on the clearance yarns and you'll see them. Or you could just, browse through yarns and you'll come across them. But one bare yarn is in there. It's Chroma Twist Fingering, which is 30% nylon, 70% superwash wool, and it is really soft. The list price originally was $9.99 a skein, and it's now $6.99. So I bought 4 of them, and if there's some left, I might pick up some more because it was really soft. It's a 3-ply yarn, and normally Chroma is single ply, but the Chroma Twist lines, with the colorways, they have, it almost looks like something more hand spun because all the twists have different colors. But this, and I believe that it looks like the worsted weight is sticking around because that one's not on sale, but the fingering weight one is the one that's going goodbye. So it's a really good price. So if you are itching for something now, while a lot of things are in back order, that's a good one to pick up. Oh, Nancy, thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you. Have I tried stamps and ink pads to dye yarn? No. I have not tried, and now we're in the last color. Here's a little, again, the colors aren't showing up as well for you guys, but what's amazing is that there are, the teeny specks that I get with sugar sprinkles? Some of these hand-painted specks look like that because of the way that they showed up on the yarn. Have I tried Tanzanian crochet? So have I tried it? Yes, once at a fiber fair in Illinois. Someone was doing a demonstration, so I sat down and I did a couple rows. So therefore I have tried it and I enjoyed it. So I actually have with my Knit Picks interchangeables needles, I have a crochet hook that could screw on to one of my cable needles, so that way I could try it. But I'm not very experienced with it yet. But it's on my list. That and tatting lace, which I also have the equipment for, but have not done. Yeah, this is just beautiful. This is an idea that I had for a while, and even now that I'm unraveling it, I can definitely see some of the breaking around the burgundy. We have pink in the center and almost this dark green on the outside. I don't think it'll be able to show up well on the live stream camera, but I will definitely give I'll try to get some pictures of it for the recap. Explain the super chat. Oh, I've explained it a couple times, but Sonia, I'll say again, super chats are a way for you to give me contributions, and it's a way to support everything that I do. It helps me. I plan, oh gosh, because this is the problem with things being back ordered. I think I'm going to buy 80 skeins of yarn in bulk packs. And so all these contributions help. They all help me continue to do this. And yeah, oh gosh, so I think that when things come back in stock, I want to get 40 skeins of stroll. I'm going to get another 20 pack of the Bare Wool of the Andes worsted, which I think may not, like, I love it. It's one of my workhorse yarns. I use it in hats and stuff, but it's also one of the least expensive yarns that Knit Picks has. And so I like to use it when I'm doing something that's a little more out there and experimental, just because. But it also comes in bare and superwash varieties. So therefore you can test out, for example, I can do side by side, and I think Marie started giving me the idea for this, side by side doing superwashed and untreated wool, because you can really see how the superwash treatment helps the colors bind faster. Otherwise, I also want to get, I think, some Swish DK is one that I think I want to start using a bit more, which is 100% superwash merino. And I would be tempted to go to Swish worsted, but because the Wool of the Andes superwash, I mean, it's just not, I prefer, for a superwash yarn, I prefer Swish worsted to the Wool of the Andes superwash. But the Wool of the Andes superwash is a better direct comparison to the Wool of the Andes worsted yarn. But I haven't bought that. I don't think I'm going to buy any of the Wool of the Andes superwash in a 20 pack. I bought some during like some of the big percentage off sales last fall. Let's not twist now, guys. But yes, you can see how crimped these yarns are. And that's why I will wet all of them before like adding on the labels and stuff to them. Yeah, 80, holy moly. Yeah, I still have, I mean, I have a lot of bare yarn left in my stash. I'm just running low on, because again, I'm thinking ahead to like destashing some of these yarns, and I want to be able to have some like Broken Violet dip dyed. So I just need some of the stroll on hand. Yes, but it means, yes, buying more yarn means more content. I can't remember. I think the last time I dyed yarn when I wasn't filming at all, so no live stream or anything, was when I was doing, I forget if I had to do about 20 skeins of dip dyed Broken Violet for the Kickstarter. And so those I did a couple on camera, but I did a lot off camera for that because it was the same thing over and over. But here is our speckly gradient. Let me see if you can get the camera to focus. So certainly the burgundy shows up. The color transition from the cornflower blue to the royal blue is pretty subtle, but I mean, it is a subtle yarn, but it is gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. And so I am really excited. And now I need to take some pictures, and I'll go through and look at any questions. And I think it's a good time to do another brief commercial break. I know that not everyone sees the ads when I play them. YouTube decides who sees what, but it's an easy way to do, and you're not missing much as I am snapping pictures. And so people have actually said that it's sort of funny when you don't get an ad to see the behind the scenes of me just chatting. That one. I'll talk some about that one in a second. Let's see if I have a good spot where you can see some of the breaking in the burgundy. Oh, I think that the utility workers are outside trying to get some close-ups of some of the spots where you might see all of the breaking, but it's worth the extra effort to do double-stranded blanks a lot. Oh, I'm sorry, I got the camera down here. It's worth the extra effort to do double-stranded blanks sometimes, because you can get two identical skeins, and when you do something that is so gradient based, that just makes it really fun. Now, taking some pictures that would be nice for Instagram. Okay, I want to make sure I'm taking more time with this one to take pictures, because it's really hard, I think, to see the details not with a picture. Actually, I wonder if sometimes this almost helps. There's a way to zoom in. There we go. And I'm showing you the picture on the camera. But yeah, indie barking is either the utility workers just outside or the mail truck. But this is just so pretty. Okay, I'm gonna make this one go away. Aha, da, 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 da. Okay, and I need to tie off, I think I'm gonna tie off the birds because I need to make space. So there was a request to do this tie-dyed blank, which is one of the, so after I want to do this one next because this one was done with the same technique as the last one I did. But since the yarn was different, the color spread out more. But yes, all of these will get done eventually. So we'll see. I think this one I did with a center pull ball, so this one might take the longest of all of the blanks to unravel, even though it is half the yardage of the stroll blanks, which is always silly. Oh, it'd be really nice in a shawl. So I'm using just some crochet cotton. Actually, I think that this is the crochet cotton that I used when I made garters for my bridesmaids and for myself for my wedding. You're expecting mail today, just not bear yarn. It's always a shame when you don't get yarn in the mail. Oh man, that's why one of the things that's been really fun for me lately has been the Knit Crate recently offered me to send me some of their Knit Crate subscription. So I get this these yarn of the month packages, and it's really, really fun to sort of have a surprise to open up. And the live stream for that is recent. So if you just go to the channel page, you can see me open up my most recent package. But I mean, opening up the bear yarn live is always fun as well. It's just a bit different because when I'm opening up the bear yarn, you're not going to get any, that you're probably going to see all white yarn. And so it's exciting because it means that fun dyeing videos are coming up, but it's just, oh, and you can't even see my lap. Sorry, everyone. I was just adding some ties so that way when I take this off, whoops, and it crimps up, I have less risk of it getting messed up. Normally, I mean, I'm bad with ties as it is. I normally will just tie the ends around the yarn, but I figured for these, which are extra crimped, it's worth having some extra ties in case something falls off. But this was the birds yarn. Set you up right there. And I'll do the other side. Oh, it's yarn, just not something that you would dye. Oh, fun. Okay, this one, of course you can't see what I'm doing, but I like, whenever I'm winding onto these nitty knotties, I like to place an end of the yarn sort of inside these junctions, because it's just a nice way to hold on to the yarn. But anyway, these were from the stenciled birds, and I will need to soak these So that way I can sort of help this twist relax. So when you're doing a blank, I mentioned that I have a blank that's a little crunchy because it was one I did with a lot of sprinkles and I think I just didn't wash it enough. I'm excited to wash that one more when it's in skein form because that one I won't just soak, I'll actually wash with soap and do a lot more rinses. And I think it'll help because I'll have more access to it. But so it's nice that if when your blank dries, if you're like, ooh, there's still something in this I need to get out, you have that opportunity. And oh no, oh good, excuse me. Okay, and trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to do before I got started. So I gotta tell. Always gotta see which end. I think this is the. Oh, sometimes it's a little hard to tell which end I started with. With the loops and threads machine, I've actually been leaving things, the ends raw, so it would be able to unravel on its own, but oh dear. Yeah, I always try, oh dear, it's getting a little kinked. Okay. I always try to do a couple rounds on a homemade blank and unravel it before I start the nitty naughty because when I draw the yarn through the ends, it just is a way to make sure things are okay. Now, the main difference between this blank and the last one that I unraveled, besides being a homemade blank with 100% wool, is that you see a lot more spreading of all the colors on the blank. So we'll still have a really cool speckled yarn and we'll have good matched sets. It's just going to be different because the colors spread out more. So the specks will be larger and there'll be less of the white space overall. The other thing, I guess the other thing that's different between this and some of the other in the round blanks I made on my knitting machine is that I did dye both sides of the blank because I didn't want to have sort of like a two-tone like patch on it. Just checking the chat. Yeah, I hope this one goes well. I think that it should be fine. I can't remember. I think that this might have been the center pull ball. So we'll see how twisted things get as I start to unravel it. And yeah, I'm going to need the weighted clip. Oh dear. What is going on? Oh, you've got to be kidding me. The problem with going through stitches, and I said, oh, I like to do a few rounds before I start. I should have done a couple more because it's drawn through a stitch and I got to untangle it. Normally this isn't a big problem that I have with homemade blanks. It's just when you draw the stitches through, sometimes like a stitch has dropped down or something. And so I just need to pull this through. What? What on earth did I do? Well, this could be another reason why this one could be a bit of a pain. The other homemade ones have gone really well. So the reason why there's even some more mistakes on this one is that, oh dear, the doing a double-stranded worsted blank on the Singer knitting machine was more than the machine can really handle. So the machine struggled. Why is it doing this weird stuff with those stitches? It did something funky and I'm not fan. I'm also not figuring out what is going on. Oh, goodness. Sorry, guys, and I don't think you can even see this very well. I could try opening it up from the other end, but that'll be harder to do. It's like I need a little screen to pop up that's like technical difficulties. Okay, let's see if that. Nope, what did I do, Rebecca? Oh. Sometimes if you go start unraveling from the wrong end, sometimes when you start unraveling from the wrong end, you can have this issue where stitches seem to like go through one another. But I am just very perplexed. Oh, come on. It's likely that a stitch was, oh gosh, you guys can't even really see this. Here, I'm going to shift this so that way you guys can see, oh goodness, this tangle that I'm working on. So sometimes when you have a stitch that gets stuck, I mean, it doesn't make sense why. Nothing makes sense right now. We're going to set that aside, and I'm going to look into unraveling. Okay, you know why this is happening? This is happening because I started unraveling from the wrong side. All right, things are going to be fine. Because if I go here, you can see we've got a nice little loop. I started unraveling from the cast on edge, which, you know, I'm still going to have a mess when I get to that section, but hopefully it will not be as bad. But that's why I was having issues. And I did just go and clip stitches, but see, this is unraveling nicely. Yeah, so when you have like a stitch dropped, and normally with like good fabric, you should be able to unravel it from either end. But if you end up with something a little funky, it's possible that you're starting at the wrong end. Yeah, the try the other end, that is exactly what I'm doing. This is, oh, it's all my fault, and hopefully I'll be able to fix that in a little while. But that one end that I just showed you, it did also indicate that I did do this from a center pull ball. It would not have, if I had not done it from a center pull ball, I would not have had a stitch like that show up. So with any luck, we'll see what happens when we get to the tangle, but hopefully it'll be fine. It'll be fine. You wonder what would happen if I did speckles and then misted with a fine spray of vinegar and water. Huh. I don't know. I pre-soaked these yarns in vinegar this time, but I wonder how the colors would spread. I will tell you that there is a really, really cool video that's coming up that is a twist on this technique, but it involves a lot more dye. There. It involves more, yeah, more dye. And then I did something on yarn that did not have any vinegar in it at first. And it turned into something cool. But yeah, this is now unwinding a lot better. Yeah, well, you know, at least like, see, you can see I get sad sometimes. I get frustrated. And then sometimes I take things that are frustrating and put it off. But so this actually, from being from a center pole ball, at least I'm not having trouble separating it right now. So far so good. Yeah, if I have to like hold this up to untwist, that will be a bit problematic because of the mess at the other end. But you have to have patience as the mother of two young boys. That is true. Lucas was so funny last night. He hasn't really been into, ever since his injury, dyeing yarn, but he wanted to do something when Ryder was going to bed. And we let them stay up late. We did like a picnic, an indoor picnic, and dinner and a movie. So we had a really fun evening. And I think that he was mad that he wasn't getting more TV. And so he's like, let's dye yarn, which reminded me that I had my snow dyeing to like finish up the filming of. But he wanted to stay up. And then, of course, because he did stay up a tiny bit late because of the movie, he had trouble waking up this morning. So, but yeah, actually, this is, you know, I would love to make more double-stranded worsted weight blanks on my knitting machine. It just, the caution that I need to give all of you, and you can see the gradient is really cool. The caution that I need to give you is that it is hard for the machine to handle. Like I was getting frustrated with the machine because I was having to not use the crank at times, but physically turn the stitches. And it was just a lot for the machine to handle because the double-stranded worsted weight yarn is thicker than what the machine is really supposed to do. And so that's just something I want to point out, that sort of like do at your own risk. Is it amazing to have this gradient in worsted weight yarn? Yes. Do I want more like this? Yes. Would I personally risk the frustration in breaking one of my knitting machines? Me, probably, because I now have 3. So I would probably, if I was going to try this again, do it on, the older one of my Singer knitting machines, just because that's sort of the one that I have to spare. My favorite one is now the Loops and Threads machine, and since that one's more expensive, I would not want to risk it. But again, just like with anything, it's all a matter of personal preference. These worsted weight blanks aren't something that you can buy a lot of commercial blanks. You know, you see me dye a lot of the commercial Knit Pick sock blanks. There's a link in the video description. But ultimately, you can't buy, like, commercial worsted weight blanks aren't something that's out there. Not that I've located anywhere. So the only way to get one is to make it yourself. Now, maybe like crocheting one would be a cheaper and safer way to do it. But if you are willing to risk breaking the machine, and it's frustrating. It's not one I would do on a live stream because I get mad at the machine. Even the DK one I did was too much for the machine. And okay, now we're getting something a little funky. Goodness. Okay, it resolved. Yeah, so it's just a personal risk. And all right, this, at least it's unraveling easily. What was the one that I struck? Oh, it was with the homemade sock blank that I made, which making double-stranded blanks with fingering weight yarn are really easy. Because 2 strands of fingering weight yarn is basically the thickness of worsted weight, the machines do it really nicely. But again, take the time to wind 2 balls of yarn before you start, and that will save you some heartache, because I struggled with the twists to unravel it. But I also think that I was not doing the technique in the best way that I know how, so that may have contributed. I mean, it is getting twisted, but I'm able to sort of pull through it. And, you know, we are nearing, I guess you can't see because it's, yeah, we're approaching the very last color as we unravel, and then back to the mess that needs to be untangled, which I will try to do on camera. And if I can get that done, I might be able to unravel some more. So, but I am getting uneven tension on the 2 sides right now because of the way. So can you see the twist that's there? So I'm sort of modifying my technique as I go. Oh, it's because of my clip at this point. Because I don't want to have to stop and really try. Oh dear, I might need to. I don't really want to stop and try to untwist this if I don't have to. Knitting a worsted weight blank with larger needles, like 11 or 15, would it be so bad? No, that wouldn't be very bad at all. But I know that personally, I don't think I would have the patience to hand knit for a blank. Okay. But again, it's all about, you know, I didn't necessarily think I would have the patience to home crochet a blank either, and I definitely did. So yeah, here's where, shoot. Yeah, so if you have too much, then it starts to twist on itself. Then that's bad. Okay, I do need to untwist this somehow. Shoot. Okay, maybe I can pull them apart again. Excuse me. I'm so close to the icky part. Okay, I do think. Let's see if I can clip in this whole mess. There we go. Hopefully this won't cause more problems, but it'll make it a bit easier right now. You can see it spinning. Oh, Indy. Eee. You're thinking Tanzanian crochet with the chroma? Ooh, that would be really pretty. Yeah, I need to practice Tanzanian crochet. Okay. I could unspin a little further, but I don't want to because I don't want to get too twisted around my bottom mess. I'm hoping that it'll just like magic and be happy to unravel on its own when I get down there, but I might have some troubleshooting to do. But one issue that I have now is because of the way that I was unraveling this, I was using, the tension was different on these 2 skeins. And once you get that, that makes it a little harder. Once one of the strands becomes longer than the other, it gets a little harder to unravel. But we are so close to the end of this really, really pretty yarn. Yeah, I think that this would be really fun. All these subtle speckles, like even if you were to mix it with like a darker color. So if you had like a deep Wilton's Violet or something, and it would just give, you could get some really nice contrast. You have a knitting pal and you're going to knit a blank on that. I don't think I know what a knitting pal is. Maybe someone mentioned that at one point. At first I was thinking like a pen pal. But I know that there are some like cool, like on Ravelry, there's a lot of like swaps that you can join. So you can do like swaps when you can send yarn, and sometimes you'll knit something and include something else in sort of a care package. Those all seem like they could be fun to take part of. So when I saw Knit Pal, that's what I thought of. But yeah, fast is relative. I mean, the fastest thing to do is to buy your own blank. But the nice thing about making your own is that then when you're making your own blank, then you have control over the weight. Okay, now we're at our tangly bit. When you make your own blank, you then have control over the yarn, the fiber type, and all of that jazz. Whereas if when you're buying it, you're limited to what some commercial entity wanted to do. Okay, so we're in our tangly stuff, and so far we just magicked one part of it away. And what is this kind of knot here? So with it being crimped, okay, so we definitely have a knot. I can talk and do a lot of stuff, but not really undo knots. Okay. But I think I'm going to be able to fix this. Yeah, going from the other end made this a lot easier. And then is this one that will just magic out, or do I need to go through it again? Cool. Down to one knot, and then I think that we're good to go. This was a lot less annoying to unravel than I expected from the center pull ball aspect. Although, watch, I might end up with other tangles as I'm doing this because I'm now also having to separate the two skeins. So I have no idea if I even got through it. We will wrap and see. So the knitting pallet's a flat loom with a smaller gauge than a round loom, and it does a different kind of tool to knit with. Oh, it's faster than round looms. Yeah, I don't really have any experience with different hand looms, just the hand crank ones that I have shown. All right. And I think, so right now what I'm struggling with is not a tangle as much as the yarns being twisted together, which there we go. Woohoo! We are untangled. Now one of these, again, because I like altered the tension at one point, yeah, I can see that the tension is a lot looser in one of the sections, but we did it. We did it. Da 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 da! Pretty, pretty speckles. And I might have energy to do another. But first I gotta take pictures of this one. Phew! Yeah, but I know some of you guys have, some of the people that watch have shops and stuff. And so some of these making your own blanks and stuff, I think is great for, not great if you want to mass produce and sell. But woohoo! Let's see. Now we've got, I think the sun came out, so there's a lot more light shining in. So yeah, it's sort of blowing out. But we definitely, in some of the areas with more blue, you see some bigger blue splotches of color. But in the places that have less blue overall, you still definitely have some nice discrete specks. Here's my phone. Yeah, this is really, really, really pretty. The fun thing is that the colors ended up coming out sort of like in an alternate order of what I did with the sock yarn that I dyed at the same time. So that's kind of fun. Got to take these pictures in a few different ways. Because especially with these specs, you want to have it close up. But just so you can sort of, yeah, there's too much light behind me, I think, to get a good view. Maybe on this camera. Maybe not, but yeah. Yeah, it's just a little hard to see. I'll share pictures both in the recap video and probably on Instagram. These are ones that I'll try to do. Actually, I'll see if I can get a picture of it right now. Have it sort of side by side. So pretty. So pretty. So yeah, I mean, I had the tangle and we dealt with it, but still, overall, totally worth it. Ooh. Okay, so there's 5 left. What have I done? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've done 6 today. Woohoo! Let's see how long I've been on. Oh, is that it? Just over 2 hours? That's not bad. Trying to decide if I have another one in me. I sort of want, so all the ones that are left are double stranded. I think that the homemade ones might take a little more effort, even though I think I did start with 250-gram balls of yarn. But all right, which one, if I was going to do one more blank, which one would you most want to see? So let me know in the chat. I think I'm going to put up a brief commercial. I think I'm going to put up a brief commercial break and mute it for a minute because I'm going to run to the other room a bit, but hopefully I won't have any trouble getting the sound back. But there'll be a brief commercial blank, and yeah, let me know. I'll move this so that way you can see the 5 remaining blanks. So let me know what you want to see, and I'll be right back. Okay, and that turns the sound back on. Okay, I'm a little delayed because I accidentally had paused and I was not up and synced with the live stream. No, I want to be live. Okay, sorry guys about that. Now, and I'm gonna blink my face. Now I am gonna disappear for the commercial break for just a minute. So I will be right back. And please hang Okay, I'm back and hopefully, oh, I should mute my computer again. Hopefully the sound was on mute while I was gone. So let me see which ones you guys want to see. Tie-dye. Yeah, the tie-dye one is what people want. All right. I think that that is a great, great one to see. And thank you guys for staying put while I do commercial breaks and take little personal breaks too. That is helpful. I really appreciate it. Okay, I will do the tie-dye one. I'll do the tie-dye one next. First, I'll need to make a niddy-noddy available. But actually, I think the one that I will tie off, because it'll be the fastest one for me to tie off, will be this one. And then I can turn this into a bigger niddy-noddy, I think. Wahaha. Okay. Oh, where is the... Okay, that's where it is. So I want to do over here and then over there. No, you can't really see me when I'm on my lap. Yeah, so this tie-dye one that I'm going to unravel next is literally, I mean, it was done with food coloring, but is literal tie-dye in that I wound it into a spiral and then tied, tied it up with rubber bands, and then I just found it. Oh, here it is. I tied it into rubber bands, and then oops, and then I did the spiral, and hopefully I'll be able to convert this one to the two-sided like I wanted. Sometimes some of the pieces can be a bit stuck, but yeah, so this was the single-stranded spray painted gradient that hopefully now that I have taken this apart, I had taken pictures of. But all right, let's grab. See, I had another 2-foot piece ready to go. So I just have to take off all these pieces, and you can get a coupling piece, so you don't have to have a lot of 2-foot sections around. For me, it's handy because I do all these blanks and unravel them. But you can also get a coupling piece to connect two 12-inch pieces together. And yeah, so oh, hi, I'm glad you were able to join. Yeah, don't worry, there'll be a recap of all the yarns that I unraveled, but also the replay will be up once I'm done. But next we're going to unravel this tie-dye one, which is sort of fun because it's actually a bit symmetrical. Because when I tie-dyed it, I folded it in half before I twisted it up. And you don't really have a spiral, and then the two sides aren't identical because of the color penetration. But there are a lot of similarities, and so we should get some like cool speckling that will feel a little bit striped in terms of the way that the gradient works out. And I think I need to start from the other side. Yeah, because sometimes it seems to me that on these blanks, they'll pull the 2 stitches through 1 stitch at the end to sort of keep it from unraveling really easily. But then, yeah, it's easy to see. Alrighty, Rue. But I like hanging out with you guys when I unravel. It's fun because otherwise I would just be doing this on my own. And while I'm able to chat while doing it, I don't know how good I would be at watching something while unraveling. So do you guys, while I'm doing this, do you guys have any general questions or anything for me? So the colors for this one were Wilton's Violet. These were all icing colors. I used Wilton's Violet, Wilton's Teal, and the Creamy Peach. And the best part about doing these double-stranded blanks is that when you're unraveling it, you're getting the same larger sections, smaller sections of color, speckles, less speckles, stripes, on the two skeins of yarn. So we'll end up with something that would be perfect for turning it into socks or something. You guys are all awesome. But I think one of my favorite parts about this is that in addition to getting these speckles and sort of random patches of color, that there is more teal. And I like it when there's a bit of a gradient. And so you'll get more of one color in one section than another. I think that sort of makes it fun. Yes, time flies by, which is why I think, what am I on my 7th? So this means that I think that I will only need one more Unraveling live stream. I won't be coming back on this afternoon, but I will do one more live stream. But we're getting like these really deep, intense, vibrant colors. In a lot of, there's larger sections of color, but there's also some tiny specks. So it's pretty fun. I think maybe on next Tuesday or Wednesday, I should take a better look at my calendar to figure that out. Unfortunately, I mean, my kids don't go to school on Thursdays anyway, but yesterday was a snow day, but there was no school supposed to happen yesterday anyway, but it was supposed to be a parent-teacher conference day. And so they have to reschedule that. And I don't know what day of the week they're going to, like when they're going to reschedule that on. So hopefully on another Thursday, but I don't even know. But it's a shame because, I mean, I guess parents had already figured out childcare options with the day off of school anyway, but now things will need to be figured out again. So, yeah. Yeah, I am. Every day I am checking Knitpicks to see if Stroll has come back in stock. These blanks are in stock. I think that they don't tend to sell through that fast. I almost wish that, well, I guess they don't have more blanks because it's probably not one of their big sellers. I don't know. I wish that they had some more. Like, I wish they also had a single-stranded sock yarn blank. That would be really exciting. But I think I did mention that there's so on the ChemKnits website, there's a list of where to buy different sock blanks, and I list some other companies besides Knitpicks, even though Knitpicks is where I buy mine from. Although I think that if you have the wholesale discount, you can get them for a lot cheaper from Wool to Die For. There's a Canadian company that sells bare yarn, and for an additional $6 Canadian, you can convert any blank, either $6 or $6.50, I think, depending on the thing you choose. But you can add that on to any of the fingering weight yarns and turn any yarn into a blank. And so I thought that was pretty cool. So that's a way to get more fiber type options, because I think otherwise you're pretty much limited to a 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, or something that's really, really close to that. What's your favorite kind of drink? I drink a lot of Coke Zero for caffeine. I also, yeah, I mean, that's something that I will drink. And what else do I like? I drink a lot of water. And I really like mojitos. That's another favorite. Oh, you guys are awesome. I think you're going to try to speckle dyeing your Stroll roving and then spin it up. Ooh, yeah, the roving takes dye really fast, so that would actually work really nicely, I think. Actually, the colors, this is not too far off from some of the colors I did when I did the Stroll roving for my Spin into Gold series. Now we're getting some of the teal coming in. Ooh, that section that popped up with the teal and purple kind of mixed is really nice. I do wish, this blanket came out so pretty. I do wish that it had less white space. But that is just really an issue of the Stroll taking up dye so fast. I think that this actually would have been a good candidate for adding some stamping to, but there was something, I was torn. Part of me wanted to do some stamping and maybe add some of the birds in some of the white space on this blank. On the other hand, there was something so pure about the tie-dye colors that came out that I sort of wanted to just stay true to the original blank that I dyed. See, the Coke Zero frequently, or I guess it's now Coke Zero Sugar, it frequently sells out in the grocery store, and so sometimes there's only the cherry zero left, and so I don't mind it. It's just not my favorite. But yay, I'm excited that I've overshot my goal of the amount that I wanted to unravel this morning. I think that these all went pretty smoothly. And so I've had some other questions about some of these colors, and like the ones next to me are all relatively pale. And in this sock length special too, I played around with a lot of techniques that would give light coverage of color. So I played around with things like spray painting and stenciling that left a lot of negative space or left some white space and gave us some more speckles. These colors are very bright, but there is a lot of white space in the blank. And you can avoid having white space. Like when I did unravel the bird one, it did have a pastel background, but there's no white in that yarn anywhere. So you can definitely achieve things without white. I was just sort of pushing the techniques that I was doing based on a lot of requests that I had received after the first sock length special. So that is why I made some of those choices. But yeah, these unravel really easily. And I think that, when talking about things that are labor intensive, I know a lot of indie dyers will buy yarn by the cone and they'll wind their own skeins. And there are some automated winders and some that you can even count yardage for you. Whoops. Let me just check. Sorry, guys. Hello? Spam. Spam, spam, spam. Anything in my area, I need area code. I have to check, especially when the kids are at school, because it could be school saying that there was a incident and that I have to pick up the kids. But most of them end up being spam calls. Bummer. Yeah, this blank is gorgeous. So really, you can get almost any kind of color you could imagine. In these areas, in some of these areas, we have a lot less white and a lot more of the intense colors. It just depends on the amount of coverage that you get. So you could have taken this blank, and maybe it would be fun to do this kind of tie-dye spiral with, say, Wilton's Black just. And then you might see some breaking around it, and then you get the whole blank, and then you could dip dye into the orange or the teal or something. So you could over dye it with a bright color, which would make the color differences more subtle, but still give you some really asymmetric, or even, this one ends up being a bit more symmetric, but you could get something overall that feels a lot more asymmetric or unique or non-repeating. So it would be fun. You did a yarn crawl a week ago? Ooh. There's one shop where you could rent knitting machines by the hour. That's cool. I've never been able to participate in a local yarn crawl. I would love to. The problem for me is that I don't like driving. And I'll drive short distances and stuff, but a yarn crawl is something that would be hard to do with the kids. Keith is really good about, so like when we lived in Illinois, he would drive me, we'd drive a couple hours and go to this fiber festival, and we'd make it like a whole activity together. Because he likes sharing my passions with me. And so he'd take me to the festivals, and out here, we didn't go this year, but there's maybe it's coming up actually, I should check. There's a sheep shearing festival that's local. And so we took the kids to that 2 years ago. And so stuff like that's really fun and that we like to do as a family. But I think the yarn crawl with the two young kids getting in and out would be a bit harder. He will, he will make treks to check out different quilting shops and yarn shops in the area. And so he's really supportive of that. But but yeah, this is cool. And now we had a really section with a lot of teal, and we're going to get more purple and orange again. So this is really going to be really, really fun. Excuse me. My tummy is starting to rumble. It's funny. I think this will be the last one today. I have the stamina to keep going and to do more unraveling. And for example, my arm isn't bugging me yet. It probably will in a couple, this evening. But I'm getting hungry, so that's the other issue. You dragged a friend along, yeah. It would be a lot of fun to do with a friend. Yeah, I really wish Vogue Knitting Live came to Boston. I mean, with New York, it doesn't make sense for them to do New York and Boston, but I can't justify yet. Well, I think that one of these years it may have taken place in New York on Ryder's birthday, and so that was sort of like a non-option for me. But I think that it would be fun to try to do that at some point. But right now, the cost of I love all the classes, the design classes and everything I've taken at Vogue Knitting Live. It's just the cost of the hotel and stuff that would be hard. I did the last one, I did it twice in Chicago. The last one that I did, I think I took, okay, so I did I did some packets. So I got 4 classes, 2 lectures, but then I ended up with like $200 of a gift card to VogueKnitting.com. So then I bought a ton of books. I think that there were 3 classes that I was really interested in, but because of the gift card with the extra books, it made sense for me to, it was more economical since I wanted some more stitch dictionaries anyway to do that one. But that I could just hop on public transportation to go downtown, so that one wasn't hard. Eek. Well, this is cool. I haven't had one that's really been semi-symmetrical and then had it be double-stranded, so this is fun. Yeah, but there's a lot you could do with folding the blank in half to get something that's more symmetrical. I mean, it wouldn't be perfect because of the way colors bind more brightly on one side, but you could have a lot of fun with it. And certainly one way to get identically symmetrical yarns would be to start with a single-stranded blank. Or to do what I'm doing now, to do a double-stranded blank. And then you could use the 2 identical 50-gram skeins to have a really awesome symmetrical project. So especially like a sideways shawl or something, that when you knit it, since you knit it, there's some projects, like I think it was I don't remember, but there's one shawl I did once where you weighed it, and when you had half the amount of yarn left, that's when you started doing the decreases again. So it was a great way to use up all of your yarn and sort of be sure of where you were. And so that would be a great, great candidate for one of these, for a gradient like this one. Actually, this yarn would be amazing in that pattern. Yeah, this is really, really pretty. It's hard. It's really hard for me to be conservative with some of these sock blanks because I really just want to, I have all these ideas. And so one of these techniques that's fun, like the very first one I did in the Unravel-a-thon, that looked like, to me, it looked kind of like water. I think one of the Maries thought it looked like marble. That one, you know, I want to do that over and over and over. And that one would be really easy to do multiple, but given that the blanks are without the bulk discount are $19.99 each, it's hard. It's hard to think about doing that. But I do have enough blanks on hand. I still have a bunch of homemade ones, and I have some, I think another 10 of the stroll blanks. So maybe I'm going to have some sock blanks show up in Die Pot Weekly episodes, but maybe in the fall we'll do a sock blank special 3 and play around some more. But here is this tie-dye gradient, and the colors don't show up as well as I wish they did. Like, I think the pinks aren't really reading well, but this is amazing. Yes. No, Marie, I knew that it was you who said that. It was just, there are 2 Maries on right now, so I didn't want the other Marie to get confused. This is really, really pretty. Gotta get the photos. Oh, I'm sort of bummed to stop. I really want to keep going. Actually, let me see if I show you. I mean, it seems silly to do this, but sometimes showing you guys the picture of my phone can give you a nice, it's a way for me to blow up what's happening. So you can get a nice sense of what we've got. But yeah, this has been a fun day. We unraveled what, 7? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, we unraveled 7 different blanks today. And so we have 4 left, which I will show you right now. And those ones we will do next week. So this is a homemade blank that I made on my Singer knitting machine with Knit Picks Hawthorne. It is a 2-ply yarn that is 80% superwash wool, 20% nylon, basically. And I did sprinkles and the spray paint color mist on the other side. So that is one of the remaining blanks. We've got this one that was also from the speckled day. This is just a Knit Pick stroll blank. And then I used a mixture, I think it's a mixture of grape and cherry Kool-Aid to sort of speckle it. And it's really, really cool. And I don't know if I can get close enough for you to see how there's tiny specks on here. But I used the OXO dusting wand that the other Marie gave me. So thank you. It worked amazing. So there's that one. There is a spray painted blank. And this one I use the DNA stencil that Erin from I Can Craft That made me. Because, yeah, I forget, someone in Kenneth's Lab was like, ooh, a DNA blank would be cool. And I was like, or a DNA stencil would be cool. I was like, oh, I wish I had one. And she's like, I can make one. And therefore, it's awesome. And then the last one is the sole blank that I had mentioned was a little crunchy. But that's because I used so many sprinkles. I just think I need to wash it more. And so this one is also the lone non-Knit Picks yarn from the week. This was Wool to Die For's Cash Sock MCN, which is 80% superwash merino, 10% nylon, 10% cashmere. So, and the reason why I wanted to stop washing it is I started to unravel it a bit accidentally, and so I didn't want to wash it too much and before I have it protected with a lot of ties. So with that one, instead of just rinsing it with water and then hanging it to dry, I will soak and wash it some more. Yeah, the stencil is really, really cool. But yeah, that's, I guess, the plan for next week. And so it'll probably be either Tuesday or Wednesday morning. And I will schedule an event for that probably later today. And the nice thing that I discovered is if you can't make a live stream but still want to leave something in the tip jar, you can make a super chat on a scheduled live stream. Someone did that for me today, and that was a fun surprise when I opened it up to put it in. It's just when you're doing the super chat, I think there's a way to like include a comment with the super chat, and so I couldn't see like the super chats are saved in sort of like a separate spot on my YouTube dashboard, so I can see all of those later. And then when I opened up a particular, like when I opened up the stream, I saw that I got a super chat on this stream. But I couldn't see any other comments because it doesn't always keep everything that's in the live chat until right before the event starts. So if you do that, try to include a comment in it. So that way, that way I could read it on camera. But I really appreciate all of your support, both tuning in, hanging out and sticking around even when I play ads or take little breaks, and then also just, joining me for almost 3 hours of fun and unraveling. Oh dear, I lost the chat. Found the chat. Orange and purple aren't one of your favorite colors together. Yeah, I went for this because I did this combination in part because the creamy peach had such a pink center that I was curious how it would break. But the violet definitely broke, and so we've got a lot more, and same with the teal, so we've got a lot more blue in here than it looked from the beginning. But it's just sort of a nice. I also sometimes try to go outside of my comfort zone. Oh, I was talking up there. Sorry. I also try to go outside of my comfort zone a bit sometimes. I think that, otherwise everything would look kind of like this. If I'm left to my own devices, there'd be like blues, greens, and purples. So I try to like get out of my comfort zone and go there sometimes. But yeah, so make sure, oh dear. Moving the chat over my face, so I can't see what I look like. That's fine. Make sure you check out the video description for a lot of links to some of the products that I use to dye these yarns. I've got the really cool dusting wand, which is awesome for making specks with Kool-Aid. The Misto pressurized spray bottle, which I used on a couple of these, on the DNA blank behind me, but also this one. Which is a nice way if you don't want to buy the color mist sprays, which work great. The Misto is something that you can refill that is sort of a great approximation. The Wilton Colorite food coloring is still on sale. There's no longer that cool $2 coupon, but it's on sale. And then I have links to the 2 knitting machines I used, Knit Picks Berry yarns in general, in addition to the Stroll blanks, which I unraveled. How many of the Stroll blanks? I unraveled 4 Stroll blanks in today's live stream. So those are all there. Yeah, so thank you. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, they all were really, really pretty. But yes, in addition to like the super chats that I've mentioned, another way you can support me is buying yarn. If I've convinced you with my love of Knit Picks, buying some of the yarn is a way to support me as well. Actually, what's funny is that, so I only became a Knit Picks affiliate marketer, and so getting, commissions from referrals, I only started that last October. But I have been using Knit Picks yarns and linking to Knit Picks yarns for over 8 years. So, it's a company that like I can 100% stand behind because I have been so happy with their products. You're going to be waiting till, yes, I'm waiting till the 12th, 13th of March for things to come back in stock myself. And don't worry, when some of the back ordered yarns come back in stock, I will share it loudly on Facebook because I am, and I guess some of my Facebook stuff goes on Twitter as well, but I am so excited that I might be so excited that I pop on with a Breathe Live being like, yay, I can shop again or something as well. So yeah, I'm excited for things to come back in stock. But anyway, thank you so much for joining me today. I am Rebecca from ChemKnits, which I know all of you know, but it is so much fun doing these special projects, even though I think I underestimated the amount of unraveling. I think next time I do a Suckling special, I might kind of schedule in time to the week to do some unraveling. But it was worth it to dye all of these blanks. So yeah, and there's also in the video description, there's also a link to the playlist. So the way I've organized it is that, and here's the playlist. I just put the playlist. The way that it's organized, and hopefully that link works, but it's in the description as well. The playlist has, because the Sock Link Special Week, in addition to the live streams, had a bunch of pre-filmed episodes. So I have the dyeing videos come out in the order that they were released, whether the live stream and the pre-filmed video. I put the recap right behind the live stream in the playlist. And for the pre-filmed videos, I did live unravelings, and so those come right after the dyeing video. So it made sense to me to organize it that way. But you can also just sort of look at the list of videos and skip around. But yay! All right, thank you for joining me. I'm gonna have lunch. I know a bunch of you are gonna go have lunch, and I will see you guys next week. Bye, everyone.